In addition to being executive director of Atheists United, Evan is also founder and creative director of Spectrum Experience LLC, the North American coordinator for Young Humanists International, and the California State Director for American Atheists. Previously, he was on the board of directors of the Secular Student Alliance, co-host of the Humanist Experience podcast, and co-founder of the humanist community of Ventura County. Also, as a student leader, Evan was the founder and president of the Secular Student Alliance at California Lutheran University, and in 2010, Evan was also elected CLU's first openly atheist student body president.
Cool. Thank you all. Yeah, I love speaking to the SSA. I have an SSA background, which I'll go over in a second. But yeah, let's do that. I want to quickly ask everyone, you can write it in the chat or you can speak up real quick. We're talking like 60 seconds quick. But why are you here? Like, what specifically are you trying to get out of today? What drew you to this event? And for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a presentation for like 15, 20 minutes, just kind of like tell you a bunch of really cool stories, get you inspired and excited about your abilities to be creative and turn that into attention. And then we're going to try to take it back to you and your campus and start thinking about ways we can apply some of these principles to getting eyeballs on what you do.
I am going to just save some time typing. I am here. Mainly the first reason is because I was invited. And the second reason is because I want to learn more about the topic of how to start a chapter, I guess.
Perfect. Thanks for that.
I agree with her. I want to learn how to start a chapter. I've already learned a little bit through emails and stuff, but I feel like I can't know enough stuff about it, so I'd like to learn more and know how to get people interested, because goodness, is that hard.
Awesome. So am I catching that most of you are in kind of the first year of working with your group? Is there anyone on like second or third year of working with their group? Awesome. Okay, super fresh. Very exciting. So my talk's not always going to be the most relevant. I'm going to be talking about some things that are going to feel super advanced and way above what you're doing. Think of them as inspiration more than exactly what to do. And then we'll get down into like how we can make this tangible for you and your campus. It's super overwhelming when you start a group from scratch. So I'm not sharing screen yet. Let me do that. I want to show you me when I was your age. This was me running my Secular Student Alliance group. This is probably 2011, 2010. We had nicer cameras. I don't know why this is so pixelated, but I'm a lot older than you guys, you all, and but I know exactly what it was like. I founded my group. It was Proposition 8 in California. If any of you know the history of LGBT advocacy, in California, they passed gay marriage, and then they had a ballot initiative and let the whole state vote on rescinding gay marriage in the state. And they actually voted to remove gay marriage in the state, and it became illegal until the Supreme Court then made it legal again. And when that fight was happening around the ballot initiative, I was at California Lutheran University, which you are right, that is a religious university. And we were having conversations around like religion and politics. I was out with the Gay Straight Alliance protesting a lot, and I finally asked everyone in the group, would there be value in an atheist club? Would there be value in a secular space to talk about religion and how it interacts with all these issues? Because all of our opposition seems to use religion as the reason that they need to oppress another community, control another community. And people got very excited. But what I quickly learned once I started the group is they weren't all like me. I grew up in New England. I've been an atheist since I've known what the word meant. I never had to like go through a transition process and question. But most of the people in my group were finding their identity in college, right? They're figuring out how to position themselves in the world, how to find language for their beliefs, how to build community and interaction around that. And that's what you all are dealing with and trying to figure out right now, is how we build community for that. Just to prove that I actually was an atheist while at Cal Lutheran, this is me eating a baby. This was one of the events we had. We baked a baby and then ate it because, you know, we were accused of eating baby. So why not just lean in? And then, yes, that's an old laptop in the background. That's what they used to look like. Okay, let's keep going. What I want to do before we get started, I do this for every talk, especially when I'm speaking to students. This is my information, and I want you to save it. The biggest thing you can do at any event you go to, any speaker you meet, any speaker event especially, is to get their information. So I was an SSA student leader, and I attended the Secular Student Alliance Conference in 2012, and that's where I met my business partner. She was a fellow speaker at that event. The first speaker I ever had on my campus, her name was Bobby Kirkhart. She's the reason I have the job I do today. 7 years later, she's the one that connected me with the board of directors that got me the job at Atheist United. You have no idea what future connections what value will come out of future connections, but if anyone offers it, take it. So you can find me on all social media. I'm giving you permission to write me right now. I can be slow to reply, but if you ever have questions, if you're ever in Los Angeles, if you ever have a cool idea and you want to partner, like, you have my contact info. I'm not going to hide from you. I will go out of my way to help you because I love the Secular Student Alliance. Okay, we good? Take a picture if you need to. Let's keep going. So my whole thing today was titled Publicity Hacking. So let's start from the beginning. What is hacking? Real quick, you got 30 seconds in the comments. What do you think hacking is? Don't chat GPT this. Give me your real answer. What do you think hacking is? What do you think hacking is? Are any of you hackers? Self-identified hackers? Yeah, breaking into a system, breaking the traditional system to do what we want instead, shortcuts. Awesome, great answers. Any others? 3, 2, 1. Cool. All right, so there's the main definition, which I think has a really negative frame, which is to use a computer to gain unauthorized access to data in a system, is the original definition of hacking. But the broader context of hacking can be applied to anything, and I think has a quite positive frame, which is the intellectual challenge of creatively overcoming the limitations of a system to achieve novel and clever outcomes. Does everyone understand that? The idea that there is a system and I want to do something to it. So how do we navigate that? How do we creatively get through it to make that happen? And this has actually created a thing called civic hacking. You maybe have heard this before. This is non-virtual, non-computer based. I actually have a definition written down. Give me 2 seconds. It's the use of creative solutions to make government and communities more efficient, supportive, and awesome, right? It's the idea that we can hack our civic spaces, our civic governments. And I want to challenge us to think about publicity in the same mindset. And publicity, I'm going to give you a lot of media stories, but we're going to also look at this from a marketing frame. How do we get attention using creative techniques, creative ideas, creative events, creative colors? Barbie, you're so successful. Okay, let's keep going. This is 90% of where my ideas come from. You can screenshot this if you'd like. It's a book that a professor had us read in college. I took a persuasion class, and this was the book they had us read. It's based on behavioral studies, cognitive behavioral studies, and it helps you communicate more effectively. The whole idea is how to create sticky ideas. And each one of these, this is the whole book. I just broke the whole book down to 6 words. So simple is to make your message stick. You should simplify it as much as possible. Find the core of your idea and express it in a concise and straightforward manner. Unexpected means to surprise your audience. When information violates the expectations or challenges their assumptions, it becomes more memorable. A great way to do this is to create a knowledge gap and then fill it. Concrete means makes your idea tangible and vivid. So use specific examples, real life stories, sensory language to help your audience understand and remember your message. I did this a lot with my podcast. This is the difference between a conspiracy theory or a riddle that you can't get out of your head versus one that you can easily forget after you hear it 3 times. Credible People are more likely to believe and remember messages that come from credible sources or are supported by evidence. Establish your credibility somehow or use authoritative references when necessary. Emotional, connect with your audience on an emotional level. Emotions drive people to take action. The use of emotional appeals, stories, and vivid language evoke feelings that support your message. And in stories, this one should be obvious. You've probably heard this a million times, like turn it into a story to make it an effective message. Stories are powerful because they provide context, engage emotions, and make information relatable. It kind of like takes all the other ideas and puts them together. So you use storytelling to illustrate your message and make it more memorable. That's it. I just word vomited on you, but this is really important stuff. Again, I come look at this list every year. I like try to go back to it, and then I think about every event I'm planning. I think about every marketing piece I'm doing, and I just like run this through my head and going, are there things I could do to make it more simple or more concrete or more credible? And if you do that alone, just think about this every now and then, you will have more successful publicity and marketing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about media because it was mentioned in my bio, this company called Spectrum Experience. I worked a congressional campaign in 2014, which I'm about to give you a lot of stories from. And after that campaign, we started a consulting company, a public relations consulting company, which means we wrote press releases, we did crisis consulting, we helped people like launch products, host events. We made them get news. We got them in front of the media or we helped them with their marketing. And before we get started, I want you to guess as I go through these, which one of these, no, never mind, that's boring. I did that, sorry, this is a thing I did when I gave this talk a few years ago to a bunch of 10-year-olds. I'll tell you real quickly what I was going to say. I was going to say, if you could guess which one of these made like MTV's top 5 publicity stunts of the year in like 2014. I'm old. And then we had other things that made national media in other ways, but I'll tell you which one MTV said was a really cool thing. So, sorry, that 2014 campaign, this was the James Woods for Congress campaign. What's cool about this campaign is he was the only open atheist running for congressional office in 2014. I joined that campaign. I moved to Arizona to work this campaign because of it. He is blind. He's legally blind. He was an open atheist, and he was running in one of the most conservative districts in Arizona, which meant he was not going to win. We actually did this campaign so that we could do publicity around the issues we cared about. We could take a progressive idea and start talking about it in a cool way. I'm going to show you some of the examples of what we did. This is James here with the tie and the glasses. You can wear glasses indoors when you're blind. It's actually cool. The rest of us are funny looking. This was the campaign party at the end of the year. I can give you a long rant about how terrible the political party was around disability and accessibility. This event was on the 3rd floor of a hotel with only escalators. Blind people do not like escalators. I can affirm, and they wouldn't let them on the elevator. But that's a much longer story. You can listen to my podcast for that one. So first, let's talk about 3 ways we went viral with that campaign and how we hacked our way to that. So the first was we not just were open about his atheism, we leaned into talking about his atheism. So myself and Sarab Lane, my business partner, who were working on this campaign, we already had connections to the interfaith community. We were looking for ways to talk about his atheism in a public way. And what we did is we decided to hold an atheist media day. We actually put a press release out. We invited the media to ask him questions specifically about this. And we set aside an entire day and put out multiple pieces of content related to it. It suddenly made it an exciting, urgent event rather than just, a blog post on our website that nobody noticed. Now, he's a long shot candidate. We wanted that attention, where I'm sure a lot of candidates you've met don't like to talk about their atheism. This will change over time, but this was 2014, and we were trying to lead the way to make it more comfortable for atheist candidates to run in the future. And we were able to get national media because of this. We got him an interview with the Huffington Post. They're online at the time, and we got a few press releases picked up by national media. So that was one. And that was the simplest of the 3. The second is we wanted to speak about guns. We wanted to speak about the issue of the gun show loophole, but we couldn't figure out a way to do it without being exploitative. We don't want to say that blind people should be treated worse than the rest of people in society. Like they specifically shouldn't have guns. And so we needed to figure out a way to get publicity around this that was ethical and non-exploitative. Well, we came up with an idea of why not just go to a gun show and exploit the gun show loophole. Never talk to anyone about him being blind, but it's obvious if you meet him. And then do a quick video talking about the gun he just bought for $100 that day. No background check, no questions. And then at the end of the video, he just happens to pull out his cane and walk away. That was a 30-second video. It cost us $100 to buy the gun and another few hundred to get a videography crew to make this. It made statewide news by the end of that night. We were able to get picked up by the local news station, which then got us some other press. So for just a few $100, we were able to take a gun and a blind guy and put it together and get a bunch of attention, right? Like sticky, right? It's really sticky now. A blind guy goes to a gun show and exploits the gun show loophole. Media. All right. And then my favorite, and this is the one that got us on MTV Top 5 Publicity Stunts of the Year, is when you're working a political campaign, especially in a red district, you get these letters in the mail. This was pre-Roe v. Wade being overturned. We used to get these letters in the mail almost every week that would be pre-filled out forms, and then people would sign their name. This must be just a bunch of old people hanging out together. And the letter says, 53 million unborn babies have died since Roe v. Wade. What are you going to do to overturn Roe v. Wade? And we just kept getting these at the campaign headquarters. Every week we'd get a new batch of these. And the more we got them, the more we got frustrated. And we decided, I bet nobody's ever replied to one of those letters. What would it look like if we wrote a letter in response? And so we thought about it for a day or two, and we came up with this beautiful form letter. And we said, well, if you really want to stop abortion, here's all the scientifically proven ways to do it. Access to sex education, access to condoms and contraceptives, all these things that they hate, right? Like, and it's a little tongue-in-cheek. We made the letter like a little tongue-in-cheek. We put it on our letterhead. We put it in nice envelopes. We signed each one of them. And then we folded it up and we were ready to send it. We were just going, it's just not enough. What else can we add? And we came up with the idea of making these custom printed condoms. And so we put our campaign logo, and yes, his name was James Woods, which we loved the pun. We added the words prevent abortion. We put these in the letter. We only sent 30 of these. We took this photo, we created a press release, and we sent it out into the world. And every feminist blog in the country wrote about our stunt that year. We raised $20,000 off of just sending 30 condoms in the mail to people. This was just a creative response that nobody had ever done before. Cool. So fun, right? These are things you could do in a campaign. A few years later, we were working with some candidates in a super rural district. They were looking for ways to get attention to their campaign. And we were getting frustrated about how attacks on LGBT community and attacks on women's autonomy, they actually start usually in sex entertainment and sexual health. Right. And so we were finding allies actually who owned strip clubs who were fighting with the progressive community on issues around feminism in the state. And so we partnered with a local club owner on doing a Meet the Candidate voter registration drive at a strip club. Brilliant publicity idea. We actually, by the end of that week, were being made fun of by Jimmy Fallon. We got national news for that publicity stunt. I could try to find the clip. It was a long time ago. But yeah, we had 6 politicians show up, and the party didn't like this one as much. So you got to be careful. Publicity stunts you got to be very careful about how to do them right. This one was the closest we've gotten to doing it wrong. But yeah, we took a creative idea, matched it with our messaging, got national media attention. I want to show you an example that was a little different. This is Athena Salmon in the middle of this photo. So she was elected. This is another candidate we worked with. She was elected to the State House of Representatives in Tempe, Arizona, which is like the cool college town. It's where ASU is. Usually the most progressive candidates in the state come from that region. And she is an open atheist, similar to Juan Mendez, who had the seat right before her. When he moved to the Senate, she won the seat. And controversy of him when he had that seat the previous few years is he started giving secular invocations. That's like secular prayers at the beginning of the legislature. Well, when he no longer was in the House chamber and she decided she also was going to start giving secular prayers, atheist community prayers on the House floor. Well, the first year she tried to do it, she had a prayer written by a local trans member in our community, and was shot down by the House Majority Leader. They actually had a do-over prayer on the House floor to overcome the atheist prayer. They had a Christian prayer happen within minutes after hers, and then called her out of order for not having a prayer that was to a higher power. This got almost no media attention when it happened, though. And so while she was talking to lawyers about what her options were, she came to us and asked, what are my media options? And we decided to call every interfaith leader we knew in the state that was willing to stand with her. And we got about 30 of them to stand together in front of the First Amendment Memorial outside to read the prayer together. We made national news with that stuff, right? Like, you need to think about the issue you're dealing with and then come up with a creative response to it. One of my favorite examples happened a few years later. This was 2016. This was done by students in Texas. At the time, Texas had passed a law to make open carry on college campuses a thing. So before then, universities had their own policies that limited guns on campuses. And Texas basically was forcing open carry onto universities. And there was a young woman who did some research and realized dildos are more regulated than guns in the state. And so she came up with a stunt called Cocks Not Glocks, where she asked students to attach dildos to their backpacks and walk around campus. This became such a popular idea, and the media liked it so much, they were able to give out over 10,000 dildos and have massive events all across the state. This was international attention that year. And then more recently, my group, my Los Angeles community group, we started a project where we started taking down illegal religious signs on like highway overpasses or telephone poles. That's public land. We started taking them down since the city was never getting around to it in a lot of our region. Well, suddenly after a year or two, we had hundreds of signs, and we'd gotten lots of press just because the media loves a good controversial story. We decided to take all of those signs, turn them into an art gallery, and then invite the media again. We did a mock art gallery night. We dressed up as pirates. We threw a party, and we put hundreds of these religious signs on the walls of a white room, of a white hall that we rented. We were in the Washington Post for that, right? Okay, so I just like bombarded you with a bunch of ways to get basically national attention off of like really simple ideas. And so we're going to workshop how to do this, maybe not national media attention. That's a lot of pressure. It gives you a lot of attention that you might not even be able to handle right now. But I want you to use the ideas behind those, the idea that we can creatively look at something that's happening and bring attention to it with our creativity. And we're going to do that maybe for marketing. That's the other side of publicity. So most marketing, when we think of marketing, we think of paid marketing. Paid marketing is like, I spent $100 and I've got an Instagram ad, or I bought a billboard and there goes $5,000 and a bunch of cars drove by it. Or I printed a bunch of pieces and I had to hand them out. But marketing can also be done with almost no money, right? I did it with a bunch of publicity in the examples we just did. That's like gold if you could do it get to national media. But there are ways you can get in front of people and stay in front of people that we do with very little money that uses the exact same principles. So that's what I want to challenge us to talk about today. That's what I want to brainstorm with you all for the next 30 minutes. That's what we're going to work on. But I'm just going to give away the 5 best tips for how to do this. You should just write these down right now. We have to capture people's attention. If you don't capture their attention, you do not exist. Marketers are the most annoying people in any company, but they might be the most important. You really could have the best product, the best widget, the best idea ever. But if you can't get it in front of people, it does not exist. And the same problem goes for your student group. You have a brilliant idea. 1 in 3 to 1 in 2 students on your campus do not identify as religious today. But what does it mean? Your group means nothing to them if it's not in front of them. Second, we have to create urgency. We have to have some reason that they actually show up at your event, actually show up at your meeting, right? We get bombarded with messages in marketing every day, like especially being in the social media era. We all get thousands of these messages. I have an ad blocker and I'm still getting thousands a day. How are some messages getting through and some aren't, right? A lot of them are building urgency. They're making a reason for you to switch to a yes or switch to a I have to pay attention now. We have to be everywhere. This is annoying as hell. It takes so much time, but your audience is not all in one place. Campuses actually, they are more than other groups because they're actually, unless you're a commuter campus, they're all on campus most of the time. But you are one of the few groups of people in the world that actually have people kind of concentrated. But even then, right, like social media, people are on multiple platforms these days, right? Where do they spend their time? Well, sometimes it's the cafeteria, sometimes it's the residence halls, sometimes it's the student union, right? Sometimes it's the sports facilities. Like no one's in one place all at the same time, rarely. And usually if they are, it's really expensive to be able to do marketing in front of them. Never stop marketing. This is kind of obvious, but really hard to internalize. We all think we're supposed to like do a publicity push for an event and then wait. That's not how it works. You often have to hit people 3 or 4 times before it actually converts them. And we all know this. We've all been on the other side of that. We've all been asked to do something and we said no, and then been asked 3 more times and suddenly something's changed. And now I'm interested, but I wouldn't have gone unless I got that second or third poke. When I do events, I almost always email people again a day or 2 right before the event to remind them about it, right? Sometimes I'll even do an email or a bunch of social media posts in the hours leading up to the event so that it can't get out of their head. Like there's nothing that can say they missed it. And then last is building a list. This is like anyone who's ever worked in a nonprofit or in marketing will tell you the same thing. Like your list is gold. You have to know who you're speaking to and you have to have their information to be able to follow up with them. Right? The beauty of a Discord channel is you've built the list. You brought everyone into it. The beauty of an email list is you now have everyone in one place. Usually you have to pay for these things. The way to do it free is to build a list on your own. And then you have to actually use that list. You know, this is a critique of a lot of people in jobs like mine. I build a list and then I'm not actually asking people for money or to attend. We have to follow up. Okay, that's it. That's my tips. We're going to now talk about how to do this stuff with your group. We're going to try to infuse creative ideas like all the ones I was talking about earlier. Again, I know I put a lot of high expectations. I mostly was trying to brag about all the stuff I've done, but like we don't have to go national. But we do need to get the attention, this first one, right? We do have to get people's attention on campus. So I'm going to work with you all right now to come up with creative event ideas, creative marketing ideas, creative recruitment ideas, whatever we can come up with to start getting people's attention. And then we'll start filling in these other things. How do we build urgency? How do we build the list? How do we never stop marketing? Okay. All right, cool. So what is the need you have right now around publicity and attention and marketing with your group and your campus? Okay, I already know. I was a student leader. Like, you need people to attend some of your meetings. You need to have some events and have people attend those events. And you need maybe the administration or some fundraiser or some partner group to like see and want to work with you. So those 3 sound about right? Right. Okay. So let's start with the first one. You have some regular events I'm going to add, I bet. What do those look like? Have you planned some first events yet? And what do those look like? Are those discussion meetings? Are those just leadership meetings? Are they potlucks? Are they parties? What are you currently doing for events?
For me, nothing yet because I'm not a registered student organization on campus yet.
Nice. Okay. You're going rogue. I love this. All right. Well, so
Yeah.
what's your goal? Hold on 2 seconds. I can't let that go. Not yet, but you're here. So where are you going with this?
My goal is to get enough interest to get to the minimum number of people
So what's
so that
that?
I can. Here it's 5.
Okay. And what do you need? Just their information? Like
Yeah,
a
but
signed document that says we want to be a part of this club?
mhm.
Okay. And then there's probably some student government process or administrative process.
Yeah, I have to reach out to student affairs to find out.
Yeah. That's super simple. That's paperwork mostly, unless they decide you're controversial, which is good press actually, if you are. Um, okay, cool. So let's hack this. How do we get Laura 5 people? And let's give ourselves a week deadline by next week. Who will get this? I know it sounds crazy, but you're young. That's an age. That'll go real quick. That'll go quick for me. That'll take forever for you. So if we wanted to get 5 people's signatures, what's the quickest way we could come up with doing that? How do we get 5 people's attention about this club? Screw it. How do we get 50 people's attention for this club?
Social media?
Okay. All right. Good. No. Throw the ideas out. That's what I'm looking for. So social media, right? It's cheap. It's accessible. There's already people there. What social media are you on right now?
Instagram and Facebook.
Instagram and Facebook. Okay. And you have some friends already in college on there that you're connected
Yeah.
with? Okay. So cool. So that's one. That's probably the simplest, the easiest, the quickest. Let's come up with something different. So that one's good. You're just going to do that one because it's accessible and you know there's people there. Where else are people on your campus?
The student center.
Student center. Okay. And what are they doing in the student center?
Studying, standing
Okay.
in line at Starbucks.
Great. Okay. They're sitting in line. That's perfect opportunity. Okay. So like a classic marketer, you could literally create little flyers. You could, print these probably free at the library and cut them into fourths and go, I'm starting a club. Would you be interested? And hand them out. You could literally walk around with the sheet going, will you sign up right here? Would you be interested in this club? Is there a club fair?
There is, but the engagement fairs have already passed and they're for registered student organizations.
Nice. Is there a club like yours that already exists that would have people that would probably overlap, like an LGBT group or a neurodivergent
There,
group or
there's a Young Democrats group and a Planned Parenthood group that I've
yeah,
already gotten involved with.
cool. So if I bet you could show up at their meetings with that clipboard and get a few of them. Yeah, the high already involved people are like the golden children of campus, right? Like the
Mhm.
joke was always 10% of us actually run all the student activities on campus. And it's true. It's so true. Okay, so there's some ideas. Dorms, they're in the dorms. Is that another place they are?
Yeah,
Students? Yeah. And like studying, hanging out, like freshman dorm, are you a freshman?
I am.
Yeah. So like knocking on other freshman doors as a freshman is actually kind of normal, right? Like everyone's kind of
Mhm.
interacting with each other right now. So a hack we used to do when I was running for student government is we would go door to door with candy. And that's how you get people's attention.
Mhm.
I always thought the easiest way to get people to be interested in anything is bake them cookies. I'm not a baker, so I never did it. But if you literally have anything you could give away, you knock on the door and go, would you like some candy? Here's the thing I want to talk about.
Mhm.
Not weird. People will take the candy. And
Noted.
that's cheap. You can get a bag of candy. You can probably steal it from another group. Bags of candy are everywhere on campus.
Mhm.
Okay, so right now we have a Starbucks line in the student union to harass people at. We have a clipboard you can carry to catch people at certain places. You can post on social media and you can bring some free stuff to some people in dorms. You think between those you can get 5 people in 5 days?
Possibly.
Yeah, all right. All right, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, any other ideas for Laura or riffing off any of the ideas we've had? Like, how could we make the ideas we already have better? So, like, wear a silly hat while going door to door, or like, I know these sound absurd, but you need to get people's attention, right?
Yeah.
You need to be memorable. We need, or some authority. Another way a lot of groups get started is they will host their first speaker even before they're a club.
Mhm.
So you like partner with another group, bring in somebody that like people are very excited about, or attend an event that your people are already going to. Maybe some science speaker or some, LGBT activist speaker. Um, and that's where you start asking people to join. Um, cool. Yeah. I mean, like I would, if you just asked, I would speak for free to your group. You then could market that to your friends on social media. And then while they're there, you try to convert them. Like That'd be easy, right? Like people like me who are crazy about the SSA, we would totally speak for free if it would help you.
Mhm.
So Chase can connect you to like 10 people like that. All right, cool. All right, someone else.
So, thank you.
Let's absolutely. Yeah, you can create a website. Oh God, give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna come up with 20 more ideas. So, someone else, what are we trying to do with your campus?
Who wants to go next? Someone?
Yeah, who wants to step right up and be the focus of my brainstorming session? All right. So, I mean, is there any of you that don't have an official club yet, like Laura?
Yeah, we're in a similar boat. So, I mean, we just have like a few people right now who we know like pretty much as the officers, but yeah, we're pretty limited in what we can do because like the university's weird about like groups who aren't like organized and set up and everything. Like they won't even let you like put up posters or anything.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, we were gonna have like a meeting soon to like brainstorm this kind of stuff to
Yeah.
get more people. So yeah.
Um, yeah, it's hard when there are constraints, but definitely not impossible. Maybe you could get like an RA or someone else on campus who has a little time and money and has to plan events. When I was an RA, we actually like were required to plan like an event a month, and pitch them on making their event about like religion and politics. And suddenly they got the space, they put up the money, they put out the marketing, and then you've got people there, and now you try to get them to sign up. One of the things I kind of give a talk on how to throw successful events, and one of the most underused things people have is partnerships. Go find a similar club, go find a similar leader, go ask somebody who has even mildly similar interests on campus and ask them to work with you. So my group, we got started pretty quick because I stole everyone from the LGBT group at the time. But getting started, the way we built our credibility is we started going to religious services, which sounds weird as a atheist secular club to like go hang out in churches and synagogues and mosques. But we were on a religious campus. And so like a lot of people were really skittish about just talking about secular ideas all the time. They wanted to talk about why they don't believe religions and understand religions they've never interacted with. So we created like a Sunday interfaith program basically where we would like go to a local synagogue, check it out, come back, and then our discussion was about our experience. And we started to get religious people to come with us. We actually teamed up with the Catholic Club to go to a Catholic church, and that's when I learned that I am not in God's good grace and could not get communion anymore. Um, yeah, and so like those were super cool. We had some administrators on campus. Like I found out the what do you call it? The person who gets you into college, an no, admissions officer. The guy who I worked with was Mormon, and so we invited him to come speak about Mormonism. And like again, you need to do these in ways that aren't tension building. You need to make them inviting and actually productive. So don't just like pick a debate to pick a debate. A lot of people will show up at a debate. I tried that. I didn't like it, but you could do it. Um, and what was cool is that like Mormon speaker, like some of the students knew on campus. They were really intrigued to hear his story. And that was actually the beginning of him turning secular. And 7 years later is now like has a completely secular family. Um, yeah, but like I was at a small school. I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't ask the school president. Bigger schools, that's a little harder, but like we totally had the type of president that would have maybe swung by our meeting if we just invited them. You probably have a professor you could ask to attend something. And if that professor has some students that follow them, um, okay, anyways, that's again, a ton of ideas. Um, yeah, initial events you could do without marketing.
I was gonna say there's a something I dropped in the chat there. Maybe Elizabeth knows about this, although I think correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth, but I believe you're based remotely, so maybe you weren't able. I'm anyway. I just know that the president of University of Kentucky and the advisor at Matthew at University of Kentucky had this idea of reaching out to the philosophy club and philosophy teachers, and then getting permission to stop by right at the end of class, so it's not part of the class itself, and it's not part of the official philosophy philosophy meeting, but just say, hey, at the end of this, there's going to be 5 minutes where someone from the SSA is going to come by and talk about the SSA and why you should become a member.
Yeah. And then say you'll give them free donuts. Just add that, and I swear to God, you'll get some people.
Yeah, I mean, I read that. I didn't know that, but I read that. But I wanted to also add, I like the idea of like subliminal messaging. I don't like to call it subliminal, but like wearing like swag, like t-shirts that say, ask
Yeah.
me about this, or t-shirts like with SSA, what is it,
It's
logos and things like that will pique
it's a
people's
great
interest, and they're
idea.
like, yeah, yeah.
But you don't want to put the cart before the horse. And what I mean by that is you probably don't have any money yet. And suddenly trying to buy 10 t-shirts at $20 a t-shirt, that's $200 you could spend on flyers and food, which is probably going to get more people than the like one person over 2 years who might like see a t-shirt and join a meeting. So it's kind of cost effectiveness, I think, is the challenge you all have, right? Unless your campus makes you a group and starts throwing money at you, we have to do this really creatively. We have to do this with almost no resources, which is why I love these workshops because my whole career is just like doing this with no money. There is not money in long shot atheist activism, but with creativity, you can get a lot of attention. Again, like make your cookies. I used to, even when I would table, I would try to make like I'd put questions up that would bring people in. Like what do you think of an afterlife? Or yeah, what do you think happens when we die? Or what's the meaning of life? Or I don't know, do all dogs go to heaven? Like you can ask silly questions or serious questions to draw people in. College campuses are great because they're generally places of curiosity. You're catching people at a really cool time in life, and they're being challenged to ask a lot of questions by a lot of professors. But what I find is sometimes the questions they're being asked in class aren't the ones they're actually grappling with. And if you can address those, if you can find the things that they're actually struggling with, which is their sexuality, their religion, their like homesickness, their fear over the amount of debt they're going to have the rest of their life, I don't know, like insert issue. If you can address one of those needs, loneliness, things to do on a Saturday if I'm on a commuter campus and everyone leaves, like these are things, if you can fill those in even the slightest, you're now not just a group they will check out, but a group that they will become obsessed with. So while our group was funny, we went to religious things, what we found is people who were curious about religious history, curious about culture, they loved our group because there was nowhere else on campus they could get an experiential learning around religion. We actually started getting people from the religion department to like, a good friend of mine became a Lutheran pastor, and she was a diehard Lutheran in college, and she joined our club because we asked deeper questions about religion and did more experiential learning around religion than her religion classes. Um, so right, like find what people are excited and interested about, and then just hook right into that. So like right now, what are you all like interested? Why do you have to do this, right? Like I was hearing Georgia, right? There's a lot of bullshit happening politically. The South feels like an unsafe place a lot of the time. People don't feel like they can be open without being harassed about their beliefs or their sexuality or their behaviors, right? So how do we address that? Safety is the most obvious one, right? We create a safe space. We create a space where you can say the things you can't say publicly. You can create a curious space where you can explore the things you can't explore with your family or, like, so if you suddenly are like, we're going to take on a topic we know you can't explore with your roommate. We know you can't, and make that part of your marketing, right? Like now you've got urgency. Now I'm paying attention. Hey, can't talk about God with your roommate or your family? Well, you're welcome here. All right, what else we got? Yeah, and you can literally put that on your flyer. You can make a video of yourself talking about it. You can like put them put those questions in cookies, like God question mark. You can literally write that on your cookies as you go door to door. You can make it fun and competitive. You could do like some cookies say God, some say no God, and it's a poll and see who takes more. And the people who take no God are your people. All right.
It looked like Zach was going to say something there. I know you went on mute for a second.
Yeah, I mean, this is more kind of like a general question, but I mean, so like, religious people, often find like really strong community and stuff, like through usually like ceremonial stuff, like they go to church together and have certain celebrations together. It's like what kind of stuff like that could we do but in a more secular way?
So I got two thoughts on this. One is just recognizing that everything about ritual was always secular to begin with, and literally meeting and building safety together is a secular ritual. We don't actually have to wear funny hats and sing funny songs for it to be like cool and important and create sense of awe and wonder and religious experience. I think literally having a space you meet weekly or every other week, and people know that for an hour or two, this is where I can discuss the things I can't discuss anywhere else. Like that's a ritual. When I look back at why my campus group was so amazing and why people still talk about it now in their mid 30s as like the best experience of their life, it was because we created that environment. Second, there are lots of fun things you could do. So there's a group at University of Southern California. They literally sing together. They created a song that they sing at the end of every meeting. They created a potluck that they do once a month. It was all vegans who ran the group, and they like wanted to connect to vegan ethics, and so they did a big vegan potluck, and they would invite anyone from campus, and you can bring your roommates, and it was like basically, if you show up, you get free food from the Secular Student Alliance at that campus. There are groups that table regularly. They make like outward engagement their ritual. That's different. I think it should be more internal for it to be like really deep and meaningful. My group, we used to do a trip together. So yeah, we did those little things, but our campus started giving us money, and I used that to go to San Diego and do a like what I would call an interfaith adventure. We literally got an Airbnb, put 20 people in it, and we would go to like a pagan ritual, a Mormon temple, and a science museum all in a weekend. And so we had this like retreat you could look, if that's religious language, but this like adventure that you could look forward to that was our ritual. My off campus group, my adult group now today, we started doing camping trips to look at the stars with astronomers. And that's now like a ritual we do every year. You can look forward to our atheist adventure. This year, we're going to Zion National Park and doing a star talk at midnight on a moonless night with a astronomer. Like, and then I'll plan a bunch of hiking for them as well, right? Like that's a ritual we've created. So like singing is on the like cheap, easy, simple side, but I find that our community is very split on that. They either love it or hate it. A lot of people with traumatic religious experiences that can be very triggering. Even me, who doesn't have the most trauma, like I still just don't like it. Sometimes, like I'll go to a Taylor Swift concert, but I just don't like having to sing together. And then on the other side, there's people who desperately miss that, right? They used to have that in religious community, or they never were in a religious community. They don't understand the weirdness around it, and they desperately want it. But you can always decide. Your group doesn't have to be everything to all people. So you can be a singing group, you can be a non-singing group, you can be hey, we do karaoke sometimes, and we don't sing other most of the time. Totally fine. So my adult group, actually, we created a sing-along group that meets every 2 months and sings together, but people self-select into it. We never make the whole community have to sing. So that's the compromise we came up with. We're like Sunday Assembly, if you've ever heard of that, they're like a secular religious model. They make everyone sing who attends. And so a lot of people who have religious trauma don't like them. Other rituals, you could probably find like a local science museum that you like go to every year on the cheaper side rather than like the big retreat or camping trip like I'm talking about. But like even just know like we do a science museum and then a party. I knew a group, again, this was Southern California, but there was an SSA group who used to throw a secular prom. They did a dance that they would throw each year. And they like everyone would dress up and they'd play music and it would be super queer and fun. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we could come up with more. Uh, but I'll stop there for now. But yeah, don't feel too much pressure around that. I don't think that's the make or break of your community. Like a grief group or a recovery group, like addiction recovery groups, that is a ritual. Like just getting together with people and sharing your experience, like the space is the ritual. So don't think you then have to add a song or a dance you do or a funny hat you have to wear. Though funny hats is always great. I really recommend funny hats. But like we did a baby cake, right? Like that could literally be your ritual. Every year we're gonna like have a bake off and see who can make the most irreligious thing. Like now you have a ritual that is absurd, it's cheap, it's fun, everyone can look forward to. Okay, again, I like once I get started, I can't stop. So let's figure out the next thing. Sierra or Elizabeth, what are you looking for on campus and how can we hack our way to some exciting solutions? Just
I think right at this point, we're just looking at springboarding and just building, just
so
growing that
where are
thing.
you at and where do you want to be?
Um, right now we're at building our chapter, pretty
Okay.
much.
So
Where we
like
want to be
what is
is
what is
increasing our membership.
can you get more specific? Like what is your group currently doing? How many people are attending?
I don't know because I don't have these specifics because I'm not like the president and I'm not on campus.
Sure.
So I don't have that view.
Okay.
But yeah.
Do they meet weekly or monthly?
Right now they just started meeting. We just had the first meeting was this week.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what are the meetings like?
Um, right now they are just very informal and they're discussions about what to do, what we're gonna do.
Okay. You're gonna get trapped there.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So I want to challenge you all. If you were to start a podcast, let's say, if I told you by next week you had to start a podcast and you wanted it to be successful, it wouldn't just be a turn on the mic, talk for an hour, and turn off the mic, right? And I think we need to think similarly about our group meetings. It's okay to have really open-ended times, but if you mostly are just talking about everything, you're going to wind up stuck in a cycle there. So I have a few suggestions for that. One, and again, this will make it more exciting for people to keep coming back. Have like a big long-term goal, short or long-term. So when I created a group off campus after I left college, I actually ran into this problem. I don't know why I didn't in college. Maybe it's because the environment, like we were on a religious campus, but I got a bunch of people together. I got like 15 people together and I was like, I want to start a group. I know I'm 22 and have no idea what I'm doing, but come on, let's start a group for a bunch of adults. I want to recreate what I had on campus. And we talked for 2 hours. We came up with a bunch of ideas, and then we met again 2 weeks later and we had the exact same conversation. And I finally had an old guy from the group come up to me and he said, "You're doing this all wrong, Evan, right? If you were a young religious leader, you would never just sit around and have everyone chat for 2 hours about what they want to do. You would instead go, hey, I have a vision for a community, and this is where I want to take us. Do you want to come along for the ride? Will you help me achieve my vision?" And people can disagree with you, they can give you ideas, but like suddenly there's clarity about what you're discussing. You're making the idea sticky, like we were just talking about that made to stick idea. I'm making it simple, I'm making it focused, I'm making it tangible. I want to challenge you all to do that, especially if you're in a leadership role. Have a goal you want to do. Say you want to host certain events, or you want to help a certain number of people, or you want to partner with a certain group by the end of the year. And even if you don't do it, it will make your group have a North Pole and everyone will get excited about that North Pole. So my group off campus, I started to say that someday we're going to own a building. Um, I had no idea if we were going to do that. I didn't know how long it would take. I don't know how much money it would take, but it's just a vision I had for the community is someday I want to be so big that we can own our own building and host events in it. And I started telling people that the first year or two. And what shocked me is people who left the group after a year and came back 2 years later, the first thing they would ask me is, how are you doing on your goal to start a building? Like, it was the most tangible, sticky idea. And it was one of the reasons they came back into the group. So I want to challenge you all to have kind of a goal that focus things. And then during your meetings, you don't have to like bring that up every meeting, but kind of have like your intro and outro to the group. Like have a clear start to the meeting, have some type of like little ritual, and that can literally be like introductions. And then also have a little bit of an outro ritual. But yeah, I think the more focused you can have the meetings and the more it has like an arc, like you would want your podcast to, a beginning, middle, and an end, the more successful it will be. That was a tangent you didn't ask for, but I have a lot of opinions about. Yeah,
People respond to structure.
I do think so. Yeah. Yeah, if you show up at a group and they're just talking about everything and their side conversations and they're not going to come back. Basically, I actually did that for this event today. I told you what we were going to do before we did it. So you had all the expectations set up for you. You could have left after that. You know, you have the option to go, nah, I don't want to listen to him talk for 20 minutes. I'll come back after. It's actually good for you to do that. Try to set up your meetings with this is exactly what we're going to do, and then do that thing, and then have a clear endpoint. Those three things will make your meetings just like feel so much better, and you won't even know why.
I do think also that connects with a class I had in college where they said that effective marketing or effective conveying of an idea is telling people what you're going to tell them, telling them it, and then at the end, you reiterate by telling them what you just told them. And that creates it in a way so that it locks it into their brains.
Right. Yeah, and I do think that's the repetition idea to some extent. I still just think a sticky hook, though, like I still think if you just have a sticky idea, you don't even need to say it 10 times, right? Like we have to say some things 10 times because they're that boring and like people can't get them. I mean, we have other things that are like societal issues, which is like getting more women to run for office. And like there's research that says you have to ask them 7 times before they run. Like, okay, like patriarchy has caused some other issues for understanding certain messages, but like I think I'm going to give you a riddle right now, and I bet you will remember this riddle a week from now just because it's so sticky. So, a guy is walking through the woods. He comes upon a cabin. Inside the cabin, there's 100 people in it, all dead. How did they die? It's so simple. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to this one. I'll give it to you in a second if you want. But a person, I shouldn't even say a man. Who cares? Person is walking through the woods, comes upon a cabin, sees 100 people in it. They're all dead. How did they die? Each one of those things is super simple for our brain to like understand, right? I bet you started building a mental image of every little thing I said. It's got a little bit of it's simple. It's got a little bit of emotion. People have died. Curiosity, that could be an emotion that it pulls out of you. Like to this, I love this riddle because I feel like it hits all of the sticky points. And it's a riddle, so it has a fun twist, but like this will be super easy for you to remember a week from now just because it's like so tangible. It's specific, like we're walking through the woods, there's a cabin, there's 100 people. Like those are all so tangible. Anyways, does anyone want to guess or do you want me to just give you the answer? Someone know the answer? This is a fun one. All right. So it's a plane crash. It's the cabin of a plane. Is the twist. Usually I let people guess for like 2 hours. I like to do this with small children, so they'll guess for like 3 hours and hate me by the end of it. And I'll go, it was a plane. But good riddles do this, right? This is why riddles can stick with us for so long. Another example off of that about making things tangible using descriptive language, there's literally research on court proceedings and like the difference between telling a story to a jury about like I was helping my child brush his teeth, and then I went and did a thing. First, I helped my child use his Batman toothbrush to brush his teeth. And then they would ask juries what they remembered from the story, and it would see like a 50% jump in how much they remembered the like toothbrush part, just because it now was a Batman toothbrush. You can like picture a Batman toothbrush. Little things like that are so effective. Just fascinating. Anyways, full of random facts. All right, I know we just hit an hour. Is there anything else, any other problems your groups are facing that you want to talk about, maybe creative publicity for, or getting people's attention, or getting people to attend, or going viral? I don't know, whatever. Going viral is hard. Don't try to go viral. I can show you some tips to make it easier, but like, I can't tell you how many old people I've met are like, we're just gonna go viral. And I'm like, no, it's not how it works. Cool. All right. Well, I thank you all for the time. This is really fun. I'm giving 2 more presentations like this. The next one's about, I think, fundraising. And then the next one's around community building. So stuff like the ritual question, I'll probably discuss in the community building one. But I'll take some of these ideas. I might even retell the condom story from today about how we raised 20 grand for fundraising. But cool. I really appreciate the time today, everyone. And you have my contact info if you have questions. And I've given you permission to harass me. Take me up on it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for everything there, Evan. And also, if anyone didn't get a chance to get Evan's email earlier, I also have it. You could always reach out to me, and Evan gave you permission to reach out. So don't feel afraid asking me for Evan's email if you didn't get a chance to get it earlier. And he's putting it in the chat right now.
Cool. You all rock. Wishing you so much luck this year and future years. Yeah, you can do it. I know it feels overwhelming. It's a lot of work, but you stick with it. You find other leaders like you, and yeah, you can be student body president too. Okay.
All right.
Thanks a lot. That was really good info.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
And then, yeah, email me if you want the slides or anything, or I'll give them to Chase.
Perfect.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you all.
Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
All right.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome. That go
Cool.
okay? That fits
Yeah.
your goals?
Wish I'd had a few more people there, obviously. But let me. I'll see what we can do to, at least double the attendance for next time.
All good. Awesome.
Cool.
Have a good,
All right.
have a good night.
See you, Evan.
Bye.